Hello everyone, I'm here with one more game, that is the game of second Grandmaster of India, Dibyendu Barua. So he became Grandmaster in 1991. So I took one of the games which he played in 1991. Usually I will be taking the game of the player that I mean to say, uh, if the Grandmaster whom I'm just introducing you, if he or she would have won the game against a higher rated player than him or her, then those games I was taking. But in this particular series, particular episode, I mean to say, I took the game of the player uh, Neeraj Kumar Mishra. He played against Neeraj Kumar Mishra, whose rating is 2405 at that time. Dibyendu Barua's rating is 2515. I took this game because I felt this is more instructive game than other games which I just went through. So that's why. So this game I'm just trying to show you. So please have a look at this. Here, my observation is a good end game skill which Barua exhibited during the game. So let's see the game. So come on. Neeraj Kumar Mishra started with d4, d5, nf3, nf6. Few years back, I heard from one of my coaches. He told me Barwa is famous for playing some kind of positions like Karakan kind of positions, like Scandinavian position, Karakan, Scandinavian, and a kind of um, where he will have the pawns on e6 and c6. So that I think that is called Little Center. In one of the books I have read, it is called Little Center. Okay, so where Grandmaster from England, one of the Grandmasters from England, he explained that that particular structure in his book. Okay, all right. So that kind of, in my observation, Barwa played most of that kind of positions where pawns on e6 and c6 will be there. That is little center. That kind of structure will arise usually from Scandinavian defense, Alekhine defense, and Karakan defense. Mm, so in this game also we are encountering that particular structure. So how he managed to play those positions, that we will just go through. c4, d into c4, queen a4, queen d7. Here he used this idea, queen d7, queen into c7 is queen c6, e3, queen into c4, bishop into c4, bishop f5. Probably bishop g5 may not be so great move in this position because ne5 possibility, I guess so. So that's why he played bishop f5. Knight c3, c6, castling for white, e6. This is, as I already told you, this is called little center. Rook e1, preparing to play pawn e4, knight bd7, e4, bishop g4. This little center position can also arise from French defense, Rubinstein variation. Okay, so Jabab Bahadur plays that structure sometimes. Yeah. Bishop g4. Now bishop f4 from white side. Bishop into f3, pawn into f3. So till here things are going in normal way, and here Barua conducted an initiative taking variation, like say for example, on the king side he went for some kind of pawn offensive, g5, bishop g3, and knight h5. So Neeraj Kumar Mishra went with pawn to d5, breaking in the center, because his rook is already on e1, the opposite to opponent king, and so he played pawn d5. Of course, Barrow is not going to let the position open in the center, so he played first knight takes g3, pawn takes h takes g3, that is pawn takes g3. If d into e6, maybe Barrow would have simply played f into e6. Okay, he played h into g3. Now knight e5, attacking the bishop as well as f3 pawn. Oh, sorry, I'll put red for that. Yeah. So bishop e2 forced. Now h5. Look at the way how he is conducting the play on the king side. Okay, pawn takes e6, f takes e6. That is the d takes e6 and f takes e6. King g2. After king g2, now he is developing bishop to more active square. Bishop c5 and rook a d1, h4. Look at the way how black is conducting the a kind of, I can say, attack, but it's not like a crushing attack. A kind of pawn offensive on the king side, and how he is playing this position. He left the control of open file for white, but white cannot capture any squares in that black's camp. That is no d5, no d6, no d7, no d8 square are available for white pieces. So that's why sometimes what happens, most of the GMs will just exchange one pair of rook and use exchange one pair of rook in the open file and let the control of open file for opponent, and they will conduct attack on other side of the board. Then they will create weakness in opponent position, so that kind of stuff. Okay, here after h4, rook h1 is played and king e7, connecting the rooks. Rook h3, white is planning to double the rooks in the h file, and here rook a f8. Now rook f1 is played because there was a threat of maybe g4. Yeah, here there is a threat of g4. After pawn takes g4, rook into f2 was coming, right? So that threat is there. So that's why white defended it with rook f1. Even now I think he can't play g4 now because f2 is well protected. So that's why black is playing pawn b5, just taking space on the queen side. It's not like he's attacking something over there. He's just taking space. a4, then a6, just maintain the control of the squares like c4 square control. So here white played h1 and black played rook f7, planning to double the rooks in the f file, or he can even plan to double the rooks in the h file. So depending upon how white replies, then black will carry on with his own play. A into b5, a into b5, fine. We just maintain the control of the c4 square. Rook a1. Now he is trying to capture this open file, and black played h rook to f8. At some point, he can even try to play pawn to g4 and continue. If pawn go away, then this rook into f2 will always be a threat. But now pawn g4 means white can even play pawn to f4. Correct? So that's why maybe he's not planning to play pawn to g4 right now. Pawn takes h4, and now once g pawn is gone away, then f4 is not in white's control, so he can play pawn g4. This idea was always there with black. You can try to use this idea in your own games. Okay. When I was explaining one of the games of King's Indian, where Nakamura played black against Veseliso, Veseliso was white. So you can see that video in my like in a list of the videos. There, a strong typical pawn break in the King's Indian is available in that. So this is also one kind of pawn break where you can find this an instructive one. Pawn g4, and here rook takes f2, king move away, then of course force the knight to go away and you can capture the bishop. First knight g6, planning to play knight f4 and double attack. King and bishop, and here h5, then knight f4, of course. After king h4, knight into e2, knight into e2, rook into e2. Black own a piece White is relying on these two passed pawns, where he can try to generate some counterplay with these pawns. Let's see how both players continued this position and how they managed to play both. I mean, how both the players managed to play. Now, rook a6, attacking c6 square, bishop f2 square, bishop f2. I'm sorry for saying square. Okay, bishop f2, king g5, rook takes e4. Now, rook g8 check followed by rook into g4 is also an option. Rook into c6, rook g8 check. Yeah, he played that. King h6, rook e into g4. So here mate in 2 is threatened, right? Bishop e3 check followed by rook 4 g7 mate. Yeah. So that's why white played rook c7 check, king d6 and attacking the rook, and after that he resigned because now rook h8 is also rook h8 is also a checkmating idea, right? Yeah. So whatever white plays, let's say white plays something like rook b7 or something. Now rook h8, once rook went to h7, bishop here. Okay, and in this position, even direct rook h8 checkmate is also an option. Correct? Yeah, not necessary to play bishop e3. Direct rook h8 also. Okay, so let's return back to the position where the actual play is started. This position, this g5, is one of the amazing ideas. Usually, if you want to extract win in any kind of positions, you need to play something different rather than usual continuation. So, in my opinion, this is one of the interesting continuations. So, you can refer games of Barua to know how to play this kind of positions really well. Thank you so much, and I will be coming up with one more video of third Grandmaster of India, Praveen Tipse, who became Grandmaster in 1997. Thank you, and see you in next video.